Welcome back to Daytime. When I had a chance to head down to Guelph about a year ago, I was thrilled to finally find the location and visit with the Biltmore Hat Company. Legendary in the area. Anyone who has ever looked for a hat, in fact, those in law enforcement too, count on them for the best of the hats too. Biltmore has a long legacy in Guelph and surrounding area. Its current owner, Eric Lyons, joins us now. Thank you, sir. Thanks for popping by. Appreciate that.
No problem.
I actually, the day I left, look at you there on the cover of Grand.
Oh, man.
Do you ever go out and not look like suave and sophisticated?
Just a great opportunity for Biltmore, you know, just a wonderful opportunity for us.
But a guy like you that just dresses well, you've got the hat, I still like to think that, you know what, if you want a bag of Doritos, you put on your sweats and go out. Please tell me you don't get dressed up like that every time you go out of the house.
It's part of the program.
It's part of the whole image, right?
Yeah, I just do it, yeah.
I want to, now I know you've owned the company for a few years now, right?
Yep.
Biltmore
2
Hats?
years, yeah.
Okay. Let's go back to just a brief overview of a company that started in the teens, 1917, I believe?
Yes.
Down in Niagara Falls.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And we think about hats back then, and when you see a photo of those eras, I guess more so the 40s and 50s, everybody had a hat on, right?
Everybody, yeah. The baseball caps now are like the fedora was back then. So, yeah, kind of reversing when we're gradually moving back to the fedoras now.
So what's interesting is we have this company that starts in the Falls, goes to Toronto, eventually sets up shop in Guelph, and hugely popular across the country
for sure.
for making hats. Was it at that time, do you have a sense that it was only a couple of styles of hats?
Pretty much.
Like what would have been the ones we would have seen manufactured back in the day, if you will?
This is a classic fedora style right here.
Look at that. Let me have a look at that.
This is sort of a low-grade Monte Cristi, which is a high-grade Panama. So this is the fedora style right here.
What are things about hats that we might not know that goes into the manufacture of it? I mean, I was amazed. I had the privilege of being taken into where they actually manufacture it. And there's a lot of steps that I didn't really know was involved in making the hat.
Yeah, one of the most interesting aspects of the manufacturing is this is a Milan weave, and this hat is sewn from a braid about 1/4 inch. Which is a hemp braid.
Yeah, a little tiny braid.
Yeah, it comes into the factory in a natural state, and then we dye the braid, and it starts in the center at the top.
Right.
And our sewers sew it completely.
And it just goes around and around and around?
Exactly.
So when does it develop its form? When does it get its shape? Is that another machine that does that, or?
No, yes, there is a machine. After it's completely sewn and the brim width to the brim width, we sew the OPP hats that same way as well.
Yeah, I want to say that, by the way. That's a feather in your cap. I can actually say that and mean it.
Yeah.
But who knew? But to actually have that, so you do the OPP hats.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting? But I probably can't order one of theirs, can I? Tempting, tempting.
Yeah, it won't be exactly. Yeah.
Oh, no, I want it exact.
Oh, no,
it's very important. Oh, all right, fine. Nonetheless, okay, so we get to the legacy of this hat company, which, by the way, there are still a lot of people in there working with their hands making them.
For sure.
This isn't like a conveyor belt churning out the hats.
No way.
I know I had mine custom made when I was down there. Now, part of the reason is hats, different sizes, different fits. I walk up and I tell them I'm an 8. I told you I'm an 8, and you're like, what, an 8?
Yeah, it's because of the shape, maybe
it's the shape of my
oval.
head. Yeah, my mother pushed at the wrong time. But nonetheless, I had to have a big hat made.
Wow.
Because of the top. Look at you, wow. I tell him that. He's like, we only do that for mascots normally. We had to give me a mascot head.
The reason, because you just don't look like you're an 8. You know, you look
I'm not
like
an 8.
7.
Most women would say a 4, 4.5.
Oh, well.
But let me walk me through. Okay. First of all, I want to ask about your hat.
Okay.
What kind of hat? You tend to have a unique style of hat.
Small brim, stingy brim style. Yeah. Because I wear a hat so much, it's good for me to have a smaller brim because it doesn't get in my way. And then this is another fedora style with a 2.5-inch brim, kind of like the pimp look. And so we're kind of trying to get away from that as much, but then a lot of people do like that. So
that's nice.
We have a variety.
I'm going to ask you this question, not to put you on the spot, but the term fedora.
Yeah.
Do you know how that originated or what that means? Is that just the style?
It did originate from, I don't know the history of it.
Okay.
It is a style. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that the name of the company, Biltmore, how they got their name.
Yeah.
that I read on your website.
Yep.
It was a couple of the guys were traveling to the States. Is that what happened?
In New York.
In New York?
Yep, on a business trip. And they stayed at the Biltmore Hotel in New York City. And
that's how it got its name.
Yep.
All right, now here's, you know what else I want to ask you about? Well, let's look at a few more hats.
Okay.
We'll get into some of the winter hats over here. Actually, answer me this.
Okay.
I had heard a rumor, the hat trick in hockey.
Right.
You heard that story?
Yep, yep.
Did it originate with you guys?
Biltmore Mad Hatters, yep.
So
yep.
Tell the story, please.
Biltmore Hats owned a farm team for the New York Rangers, and
this would be about when? In the 40s?
Probably the 40s, 50s,
Okay.
and 60s, yeah. And so this is where if a player would score 3 goals in one game, then everybody would throw their hats in the rink. So they would take their hats off and throw them in. So
because it was a Biltmore team.
Exactly.
Isn't that
that's
interesting?
Where it originated from, right?
The hat trick.
Yeah, and we brought it back to the Guelph Storm. Of course, everyone doesn't wear a fedora today, so we're not throwing a hat in, but the player who scores a hat trick gets a hat. And then the second time they do it, they get a hat for the charity of their choice.
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
So, yeah.
All right, diverse selection here, too. Now, let's come over to some of the winter-style hats?
Fur felt.
For the felt hats,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's a certain thing on how to wear them, how to care for them.
Yeah.
One of the things that I won't do but I will just show you for the sake of it, is you don't pick it up like
Exactly.
that.
Always handle it by the brim.
Always pick it up by the brim.
Yeah, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice?
That's
now,
a Hamburg, by the way.
It's a Hamburg?
Hamburg style. Yep. Yep.
So if I stole it, I'd be a Hamburglar?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
And now, are these all different styles? This one, look at this one
Yep,
here.
that's the Tyrolean, which is used during the Oktoberfest, and the Bavarian brush that we import from Germany. Yep. So.
It interests me, the whole felt industry. I know we have a felt factory here in town, and there's been one down in Guelph, too. Where do you get the felt? All from different places? Or
Right now, we import the felt from Europe. Most of it comes from Europe, Western and Eastern Europe. At one time, Biltmore used to have their own felting process. So we've just sent our recipes to some manufacturers in Europe now. Yeah.
I also thought it was interesting of note that when hats sort of fell out of favor in the 60s, and I had heard there were a few different reasons they think why, one of which was that JFK in his inauguration didn't wear a hat.
That's what they say. And he, by the way, was a
That
size
kind
8.
of influence.
He was a size 8, and his head was too large for the hat because of his a lot of hair that he had.
Right.
And so he had the hat, but he kept it in his lap.
So they think because he didn't put the hat on,
Exactly.
that info. I mean, the same way now culturally, if a performer at a music award show wears something, people go out and buy it.
Right.
So that's interesting.
Right.
The fact too that there was ball caps came into favor, dressing more casually.
Okay.
So some interesting things, and I do want to tell people that they should drop by your website to find out more.
Oh, for sure.
But also at your manufacturing location in Guelph, which is located on
139 Morris Street.
You have like a little store in the front.
Yep.
And almost a little museum area.
Right. We have a factory outlet store, and after I came in, we decided to create a miniature museum for the public, since so many people were interested in the resurgence of Biltmore. So we have some old hat box, and a lot of the items there have been donated by locals.
You know, I bought the hat box. I ordered the hat, and it's so nice to have something that's not only local, but has some historic value to it.
For sure.
And it just means a lot, I think, to have that kind of thing. It's a neat gift idea, too, and you do even bus tours come by to see that. And I spent some time in that little museum area. The wonderful lady there that sets it all up.
So Beth Stoddard.
Is that who that was? Okay, she's wonderful. You do a terrific job. I'm glad you took some time. By the way, what do we have here?
This is
just show that quickly before we go.
This is a Monte Cristi from the small town of Monte Cristi in Ecuador, South America. And this is a very high-grade Panama that is created and sewn and possibly took 3 to 4 months to create. This hat would retail once it's finished on the market for about $1,500 to $2,000.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I usually spend about $1,400 on my hats.
Oh.
So that's a lot. That's another $100. No.
Wow.
That is just beautiful. I love the history. I encourage people pop down to Guelph. Are you guys, is the little store open Monday to Friday?
Yes, it is.
How about weekends? Closed up on the weekends?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Closed on the weekends.
Call if you're interested in setting up a tour as well. Eric Lyons is the owner of the Biltmore Hat Company, and I'm glad you're down there in Guelph keeping the legacy alive. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
All right. Stay with us. We're going to talk about a guy that's making $1 million a week in just a second.